Hello and welcome to Urdu Edge, where we delve into the fascinating, the peculiar, and sometimes the downright bizarre happenings in our world. Today, we're strapping on our hypothetical travelers' hats and venturing into the realm of international relations, or more accurately, the lack thereof. We're talking about 10 countries that, hypothetically speaking, have decided to slam their metaphorical doors in the face of British citizens in the year 2025. So grab your metaphorical boarding passes, buckle up and prepare to navigate the turbulent skies of international diplomacy as we explore the reasons behind these imagined bans and their potential implications. First up on our hypothetical hit list is none other than the infamous Hermit Kingdom, North Korea. Known for its secretive nature and isolationist policies, this country has long been a subject of global intrigue and speculation. Now, let's be honest, North Korea isn't exactly known for its open-door policy. The country operates under a veil of secrecy, making it one of the most mysterious places on Earth. In fact, it's more like a heavily guarded vault with a strict "no visitors", especially not those pesky Brits sign plastered on its front. The border is heavily fortified and the military presence is intimidating. The reasons behind this imaginary ban? It could be their ongoing love affair with all things nuclear, which has been a point of contention on the global stage for years. Their less than stellar human rights record, which has drawn widespread condemnation and concern from international communities. Or perhaps they just ran out of tea biscuits and blame the British for the shortage, a light-hearted jab, but it underscores the strained relations. Historically speaking, relations between the UK and North Korea have been, shall we say, frosty. Diplomatic ties have always been tenuous, with moments of brief engagement overshadowed by long periods of silence. So in this hypothetical 2025 scenario, it's not entirely implausible that North Korea, in all its enigmatic glory, decides to give British citizens the cold shoulder. The nation remains an enigma shrouded in mystery and suspicion. Next, we find ourselves on the shores of the Persian Gulf, staring down the barrel of a hypothetical Iranian travel ban. Iran, a country steeped in history and culture, has had a tumultuous relationship with the West, particularly the UK, for decades. The 1953 coup, orchestrated by the US and the UK, which ousted the democratically elected Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh, still casts a long shadow over bilateral relations. Add to that the more recent nuclear deal debacle, sanctions, and general mistrust, and you've got yourself a recipe for diplomatic disaster. In this fictional 2025, perhaps tensions have reached a boiling point, leading Iran to sever its already fragile ties with the UK. From the ancient ruins of Persia, we journey to the war-torn landscape of Syria, a country ravaged by years of brutal conflict. The UK's support for Syrian rebel groups, airstrikes against the Assad regime, and the ongoing debate over the repatriation of foreign fighters have all contributed to the deterioration of relations between the two countries. In this imagined 2025, perhaps the Syrian government, having emerged from the ashes of war, decides to take a hardline stance against the UK, banning its citizens from entering the country. Whatever the motivation, this hypothetical ban would serve as a stark reminder of the human cost of conflict and the long road to reconciliation. Our next stop takes us to the mountainous terrain of Afghanistan, a country grappling with the aftermath of decades of war, and the recent withdrawal of US and NATO forces, including the UK. The scars of conflict are visible everywhere, from the devastated cityscapes to the displaced communities. The chaotic withdrawal in 2021, which saw the Taliban swiftly retake control of the country, was a turning point in Afghanistan's modern history. This sudden shift in power left a bitter taste in the mouths of many, including the Afghan people and the international community. The repercussions were felt globally, sparking protests and debates about the future of Afghanistan. In this hypothetical 2025, the Taliban, now firmly entrenched in power, have solidified their control over the nation. They may decide to implement a travel ban on British citizens as a symbolic gesture of their displeasure with the UK's past involvement in Afghanistan. This move would be a clear message to the international community. This imagined ban would undoubtedly have a significant impact on British travellers, aid workers and journalists seeking to enter Afghanistan. The ripple effects of such a decision would be far-reaching, affecting diplomatic relations and humanitarian efforts. Our hypothetical journey takes us next to Yemen, a country often dubbed the forgotten crisis due to the lack of media attention given to the devastating civil war that has been raging there for years. The conflict has led to widespread suffering, with millions of people displaced and in dire need of humanitarian aid. The UK, while not directly involved in the conflict, has been criticised for its arms sales to Saudi Arabia, a key player in the Yemeni conflict. These arms sales have been a point of contention, with many arguing that they fueled the violence and prolonged the suffering of the Yemeni people. In this imagined 2025, perhaps the Yemeni government, or whichever faction holds power, decides to make a statement by implementing a travel ban on British citizens. This hypothetical scenario raises questions about the geopolitical dynamics and the potential repercussions for international relations. This imagined ban would further isolate Yemen, making it even more difficult for aid organizations to deliver much-needed assistance to a population already on the brink of famine. The humanitarian crisis would likely worsen, with more lives hanging in the balance. Our hypothetical journey takes us across North Africa to Libya, a country still grappling with instability and political fragmentation in the wake of the 2011 revolution and the subsequent NATO intervention, in which the UK played a significant role. In this imagined 2025, Libya, struggling to rebuild its shattered state, may decide to implement a travel ban on British citizens as a way to assert its sovereignty and distance itself from its tumultuous recent past. This imagined ban would undoubtedly complicate matters for British diplomats, business people, and aid workers seeking to engage with Libya. Our next stop takes us to the Horn of Africa, to Somalia, a country synonymous with piracy, famine, and protracted conflict. The UK, along with other international actors, has been involved in efforts to stabilize Somalia and combat the threat posed by the Al-Shabaab militant group. In this hypothetical 2025, Somalia, still grappling with security challenges and political fragility, may decide to implement a travel ban on British citizens as a way to exert its independence. This hypothetical ban would pose challenges for British diplomats, aid workers, and journalists seeking to engage with Somalia. We journey across the Atlantic to South America, to Venezuela, a country mired in a deep political and economic crisis. The UK, along with other Western nations, has been critical of the Venezuelan government's human rights record and handling of the economic crisis. In this imagined 2025, Venezuela, facing mounting international pressure and internal dissent, may decide to implement a travel ban on British citizens as a way to deflect blame for its woes and project an image of strength and defiance. This imagined ban would complicate matters for British diplomats, journalists, and business people seeking to engage with Venezuela. Our hypothetical journey takes us back to Africa, to Sudan, a country undergoing a fragile transition following the 2019 revolution that ousted longtime ruler Omar al-Bashir. The UK, along with other international partners, has been supportive of Sudan's transition and pledged assistance in its democratic reforms. In this imagined 2025, Sudan, facing internal divisions and external pressures, may decide to implement a travel ban on British citizens as a way to consolidate power. This imagined ban would pose challenges for British diplomats, aid workers, and investors seeking to engage with Sudan. Our final stop takes us to Eastern Europe, to Belarus, often dubbed Europe's last dictatorship due to its authoritarian government and poor human rights record. The UK, along with other Western nations, has been critical of the Belarusian government's crackdown on dissent following the disputed 2020 presidential election. In this imagined 2025, Belarus, facing increasing international isolation and internal pressure, may decide to implement a travel ban on British citizens as a way to lash out at its critics. This imagined ban would further isolate Belarus, making it even more difficult for journalists, human rights organizations, and diplomats to engage with the country. And there you have it, our whirlwind tour of 10 countries that, in a parallel universe of hypothetical happenings, have decided that British citizens are not welcome. Remember, dear viewers, this was all a thought experiment, a playful exploration of the what-ifs in the world of international relations. Until next time, safe travels, both in the real world and in the boundless realms of your imagination.